So Eddie Jones selects a limited team, plays a limited game plan and gets a limited performance as South Africa smash England. And I thought you were going to score.
Ask a better question, you get a better answer.
Hi guys, welcome back. So England 13, South Africa 27, and you've got to give it up to South Africa. At no point did they look like losing this game, and they completely dominated England in almost every single area. Now, I'm not going to hold back on England here because I've seen them for the whole series, and I've seen very little evidence that there's this master plan that some think that Eddie Jones has, but we'll get into that as we go along. And like I say, South Africa thoroughly deserve this. They kind of humiliated England a bit like they did in 2019. Now, the game starts off pretty fiery. Itoje and Etzebeth both contesting really well, winning good turnovers. Etzebeth won that battle overall in the end. And England looked just to kick the leather off the ball very early, saying, we don't want the ball, come and play at us, and really just kicking for distance and height, not really getting their chase that good either. Now, early on, unsurprisingly, the Boks target Mako Vunipola in the scrum. To be fair, they targeted the whole England scrum, but no surprise, Mako was really struggling. Like he did in 2019, maybe Eddie Jones didn't watch that game, I don't know. But luckily South Africa haven't really picked a proper goal kicker all series, and Faf de Klerk missed an absolute horror there, misses a couple. Like I mentioned, Itoje's really on it, forces another good turnover, good gain line from Tuolangi, and let's talk about Tuolangi briefly. He gives everything. He got good gain line ball for England in first phase, but apart from that, he's kind of like 70-80% of the player he used to be. And if you think about it, this whole England team, a lot which played in 2019, the majority are kind of a shadow of themselves or just not quite as good as they used to be. And the new ones aren't really turning it on either. So why expect a better result and when the game plan is much more limited? So let me know what you think about that. Anyway, Mako on 15 minutes or 12 minutes gets folded up like a deck chair in the scrum, but the penalty goes to England. That was a bit lucky, so England go ahead 3-0. Then off for a counter-attack, England actually rarely look to move the ball through Smith and Farrell, but Farrell forward pass doesn't quite work. And another note here, Coles had a bit of a horror show as well. Some of these New England players just haven't really stepped up. Van Poortvliet, Coles, not really working out. Maybe Coles is a second row in the making, but at the moment, he's definitely not an international blindside. He gets picked up and hauled into touch by Etzebeth and his mates. A bit embarrassing, really. So not a great game for Coles, to be fair. It was a high tackle from Coles as well, so it's 3-3 in the end there. On 20 minutes, Tuolangi, again, good first phase ball. And I've literally written down from the penalty it's going to be 6-3, but Farrell missed an absolute horror show. Don't know what's going on with him, to be honest. They need to let Smith kick. Something was up with Farrell. Now, another note here. It feels like Johnny May is completely devoid of confidence, just doesn't want to run. I'm not sure what's going on. I think he knows he's lost his acceleration and speed, and that's what he should be there for. So really, it's time to stop picking him, even though I love the guy to death. Now, the thing is, if you're going to play a really basic game plan, kicking, set piece, hit hard in the tackle, you've got to have a great set piece, which England wasn't, and you've got to be really error-free, which England weren't. And a big error on 23 minutes when Stewart kicks the ball out on the full, give South Africa some mauls. They're so good at that. 2 or 3 penalties later, England in a lot of trouble. Now, to be fair to Billy, Mako and Johnny Hill, they combined really nicely, realise they've held up Khaleesi's and then fall over the gain line. So that's a good defensive play from them. Fair play. But it's a bit of a high ball sport at the moment, just kicking the ball backwards and forwards, and England are losing out on that as well. To be fair, some good physical defence from England in half an hour. They are stopping the big South African runners, but then Willemse decides, well, if I'm not that great at kicking a goal, I'll just do drop kicks instead. He gets the first of his nice drop goals, so that's 3-6. Then on 32 minutes, one of Marcus Smith's high ball bombs, it's just too long. Willemse does great to start the counter-attack, feeds LaRue, who's silky smooth, feeds Arenza, who is the gas, in and out on Marcus Smith himself. He didn't really have much chance there, but it's amazing what you can do if you pick wingers with extreme speed. Note that, Eddie Jones. So 3-11, great try, and more horror show goal kicking from Faf de Klerk. Arenza's nearly away again a couple of minutes later. Just fantastic stuff from him. Absolute pace. South Africa are really turning the screw in the scrum. Get a few more penalties. They go 3-14 at half-time. And England's tactics, well, if you're going to select a big, slow team, put in big tackles, high ball kicks, you've got to be great at it. And they really weren't. So at half-time, England's tactics of selecting a big, slow team, putting the tackles, high ball, is just not working. What are they going to do to change it? And at least Eddie realises it's going wrong. He changes the whole front row, who don't really do a lot, to be honest. Jack Noel comes on, who is England's best attacker in the second half, so fair play to him. But straight away, South Africa attack, and Willemse goes, well, I'll put in another drop goal, why not? This one from about, 20, 30 metres, really nice, 3:17. Then a bit of a comedy moment. There's a bit of a scuffle after the drop goal. Ref says, I don't know who started it, but I'm pretty sure it was Atoje for holding Etzebeth. Atoje is a real wind-up merchant, and I can see why other teams don't like him, other fans don't like him. Very antagonistic, and just after that he celebrates loudly in Ure's face, who drops the ball. It's just a bit petulant, to be honest. So that's the bit of Atoje's game I'm just not fond of. Lacking class, you might say. No need for it, doesn't really help. Anyway, on 45 minutes, a quality high ball take from Stewart above his head. That was impressive. At pace, let Smith actually attack the gain line. This is the best attack England have put together all game. They get a penalty from it and score it, so 6:17, that's better. But once again in that move, Johnny May gets his hands on the ball and just passes it. He's scared stiff of running. It's not good to see. Then the first of Johnny Hill's ridiculous penalties. It's a reverse penalty, actually. England have won the penalty. Johnny Hill decides just to chuck away Faf de Klerk for fun because he's small and gets the penalty reversed. South Africa go 5 metres out and Etzebeth muscles over, and a yellow card for Curry. That's an absolute killer blow, just gifted by Johnny Hill there. And at this point, well, the whole game, every scrum is just a nightmare for England. Faf de Klerk's being a real nuisance at the base, at the scrum. And there's a lot of scrums in this game. It's very stop-start. It's letting South Africa take a breather. They're not in trouble at all. Who are England's game breakers? That is the question. We do have Simmons on, who could be, but doesn't make an impact. Noel, like I said, was England's best attacker. Then pretty funny from Faf de Klerk, realises he can't get the short kick, so he just smashes over one from halfway for fun, 6:27. That was pretty funny. Then potentially a turning point as England actually get a decent attack going. A point here as well, Farrell's lying very deep, decides to run, but he's the slowest 12 in world rugby pretty much, gets hammered behind the gain line. South Africa release the speed of Arenza, who nearly scores, but then Thomas du Toit decides, well, we're winning this game too easily, I might as well get myself sent off. Just flies in, very reckless, red card. 20 minutes against 14 men is not enough for England, but it could have given them that chance again to come back, a bit like against New Zealand. Anyway, this is a weird point here. South Africa steal a vital line out, but then the kick hits the spider cam of all things, and they have to scrum back. That's really harsh, and England win a penalty from that. Go to a 5 metre line out. They try and muscle over. They're space out wide, but unbelievable cover tackle from Arenz. He was just fantastic in this game, and de Klerk. But another penalty. England must score, but South Africa nick it. Some brilliant defence with the 40 men of South Africa in this last 20 for sure. Huge defensive set on 66 from South Africa with those 14 men. Mark's unbelievable. Jackal at the end. He's world class at that. And England continue to get pumped in the scrum, even with 7 forwards. Really embarrassing. Then Noel bursts into the game, takes a high crossfield kick, swats aside 2 tacklers. Best moment of the game. Youngs has a good impact. Slade scores. 13:27. Definitely the best moment of the game for England. But it's too much for England, who just don't have the pace and individual talent on the pitch to go the length of the pitch and score a try. South Africa happy to run down the clock, take the scrums, take the resets. We have a last chance for England on 77 minutes, but it's another misfunctioning line out. The set piece, an absolute nightmare today. 7-man scrum, still embarrassing England. Game over, 13:27. That was pretty embarrassing for England. Brilliant result for South Africa, shorn of a few of their best players. Let me know what you think. I think there's some big problems with England, and I think it's stemming from their coach, I dare say, Eddie Jones, with some really boring selections, a slow team, a slow game plan, expecting to beat a side like South Africa. Just not good enough, I think. I'll come back to that in more detail another time. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Love to know your thoughts, and I'll catch you next time.